the most professional of activities occurs here into the mind of madness. That was a bit of a weird start. Oh, man. All right. It's been a week. It's been a weird week because we had the holiday ourselves here in Canada on Monday. I think it's actually only a couple provinces, but definitely where we are. That said, what have we been up to? We've been up to staring at possible builds, wondering what the heck we're going to play where the upcoming Canadian Nationals. With U.S. Nationals just around the corner, myself and Amber, unfortunately, we don't have the time or ability to make it out to that tournament. So we are already in the headspace of getting ready for Canadian Nationals, whenever that might be. And the question always comes up, when is Canadian Nationals? Me don't know. But that doesn't stop us from preparing ourselves mentally. And one of the things, I think I've brought it up a couple times on the Meta Lab, but I got to bring it up here too. I have to step away from Jason builds for a little bit. Until this whole, until I can figure out the solution to this entire vulture problem, I'm kind of stuck having to accept it as a reality. So, oh well. All right. So we've kind of addressed that. So in the near future, my goal is going to be to come up with whatever I decide to play while also sharing my day to day or my week to week with you guys. And of course, whatever life advice I could offer in the game of Heroclix. Now, amongst the community, specifically throughout Facebook, which is where a lot of Heroclix conversation occurs, we are at that time of year where the conversation has come up about the idea that Heroclix is a pay-to-win game. I hate that this conversation keeps coming up because I very frequently have to address it. And there is no definitive answer. I am not going to say, yeah, it's pay-to-win, or no, it's not pay-to-win. It's a little bit of both. And by a little bit of both, this picture just keeps getting knocked over, and it bothers me, and I always realize it after I've started. Anyway, as far as the pay-to-win situation, Dark Logos on the Starting Over podcast had a very good episode where he kind of addressed it. And I'm going to go with some Cole's notes on this so I can get it out of my way because everybody's talking about it and it's worth talking about. Is this game strictly pay-to-win? Kind of. And that's a non-answer, right? There are elements to the game that's like, yes, there's a lot of expensive figures and somebody at some point has to pay. And how much is that going to cost? Well, it's a hobby. And there's no such thing as a cheap hobby. And you're kidding yourself if you think any hobby that you might be able to find is actually cheap. Like even bird watching, you got to get somewhere. You're going to stop being interested in the birds in your local neighborhood. You're going to have to travel somewhere, and that travel costs money. Oh, yeah, the sky is falling conversations around the corner. Yes, thank you, Majestics, for reminding us of that one, where the game is going to die again. And even I've kind of backed off on because there was a bad year not too long ago where there's a lot of signs I've seen in games aside from this one. But Heroclix kind of came back and proved me wrong, and I feel like I am no longer in that situation where the game is just going to falter and they've kind of picked up their shorts and gone. So I'm going to say I was wrong on some of my ideas on that one. That aside, as far as the pay-to-win situation, if it was specifically pay-to-win, then only the richest people would win the game. And Patrick doesn't pay me enough for my Majestics articles for him to be anything close to the richest person in Heroclix. Sorry, Patrick, I love you. That's not an actual shot I'm taking. But the point is that these guys the people who are winning aren't wealthy. They happen to have acquired figures. And money spent, it comes in really weird ways. A good example of it is I will, for every set, purchase a case and a half, depending on how interested in the set I am. I believe, and of course, I get a little lucky because one of my half cases comes from WizKids and is part of our channel. But I put in the work to do that video, put out the information that we have in relation to that when we get that stuff in. And before anybody asks, We haven't got it in yet. We're just going to nip that in the butt now. Going on to where I was talking is, if in my investment, I purchase a case and a half. Now, that is an initial investment of $200 odd. Now, in that situation, Canadian, I'm speaking in Canadian dollars before anybody loses their damn minds. The exchange rate is wacky. So, but when it comes down to it, I am spending X amount of dollars and I'm getting my results. Now, I'm kind of on a gambler's version of collecting, where whatever I'll get a chase or two, depending if it's a case and a half or not. I will get a prime if it's a case, usually. And then my money spent after the fact will be to get figures that I need for teams from here on in. So I kind of get a little lucky in that case. I'm able to purchase these cases, this stuff. But when you invest your money, be smart about it and invest within your means. If you, I think Edward put it best in his show where he said about $1,200 is a good like expectation on a year for a hobby. And if you want to be in competitive Heroclix, a little bit of money does go a long way, right? So, excuse me. I'm all over the place here, so I got to refocus here. So, long and the short of it is that the money you put in is the money you get out of it, and the way you invest your money can go a long way towards how much you're actually spending on it. If you're capable of buying a case every set, awesome. You're going to spend about $250 per set, 100 in Canadian, adjust for American. Sorry. I think I'm spending about $250 a case. I hate our dollar. So that's about $1,000 a year. For roughly, there's about 4 sets, sometimes 5 per year, right? That's $1,200 for a year for a hobby. That's, when you look at the grand scale of it, it usually isn't much of a yearly salary. If that doesn't fall within your budget, you do have to drop that down. But then we go into the second part of a lot of what Edward said, which was get some friends. This is one of the aspects of the new trend in Heroclix to be on a Heroclix team and where that comes from. Part of being part of a Heroclix team means that your financial investment drops for a number of things, one of which is travel. 4 of us get into a car versus 1 of us get into a car. We can split the cost 4 ways. 4 of us get into a hotel. If you're comfortable snuggling up to each other in a bed, that's the cost split 4 ways. So when you look at it at that, that's some of the cost for traveling to be a competitive player. In addition to which, you now have the combined, and we're just talking the average team comes between 3 and 4 players. When you actually average it out, that's 3 or 4 different people's collections, which means the number of singles that spread out across that group increases, and sometimes there's multiples of different singles. And if there's a varying enough metagame where it's not one of those 1-2 team metagames, you all should be able to build the team you want to build with the combined pool of resources that are available to you, which it's part of what's been really great about the game in the past couple of years is this birth of the Heroclix team, which kind of came from the offshoot of the Magic and Versus and Yu-Gi-Oh teams. These are the people who practice together, and when there's financial involved, in the case of Magic, there's always team prize splits. Hey, everybody's working towards the same cause. If we all get into the top 8, we got a lot of money coming to us. If one of us gets into the top 8, not much, but we're splitting it 4 ways. If that guy wins, 4 of us get awesome amounts of money. If 4 of us are in the top 8, one of those guys wins, that's a lot of money for all of us. And you're splitting it, and you put it all back into those costs. All those costs are minuscule. The money coming back, it's just awesome. Now, Heroclix, you don't have money. But you do have, buddies, high five. All right, here, take a con exclusive. I don't need this many. Or you get stuck in a situation where when we went to Worlds, myself and Tom and Steve got into the top 4 of Team Worlds, top 3, I believe, based on if records and points kind of bless themselves in the way they should. Devin, who was with us, won. There's no prizes to be handing around, just high fives everywhere. And if anybody was missing something who was in the room, they got it. It's just take it. I don't care. ID cards. I was chucking jokers at people. It's too much. So when you as a group succeed, that's amazing. So the cost conversation comes up all the time. If this game was pay to win, only the rich people would win, and the people who are winning are not the richest people in Heroclix. I know who some of the richest people in Heroclix are, and it most certainly is not just the people who are winning. Now, that aside, let's talk about my madness, my crazy, and what's going on. And I kind of want to address something we didn't get a chance to on the Meta Lab because of the long weekend, and it was the fact that the guys went out to Eternal Games and did fantastic. Hopefully we'll be able to talk about it on the Meta Lab on Monday. Our friend Devin won. This kid is unbelievably smart, and he's too good for his own good. I think if anybody is going to be the first Canadian to win Canadian Nationals, it's going to be Devin. I have Professor X ID cards in places I didn't know I had that could hold Professor X ID cards. It's just... And Harley Quinn's too. Excuse me, almost choked on some phlegm. Oh! And I think if anybody's going to be the next Canadian, the first Canadian to win Canadian Nationals, I feel Devin is going to be that kid. He's had a bang-up year, and he's really good at the game. He really knows and he's got such a good read on the game. But I'm making a personal pledge that I'm going to be one of his challengers. I may not win, but I am on a 3 years ago at Canadian Nationals, I made top 4, and I was happy with that. I actually got 3rd place once all the things were added up and whatnot. And then ever since, I have failed to so much as make the top cut. And this is a me problem. This should never be a Heroclix player's problem, first of all. There are 8 people in the top 8. I know, Department of Redundancy department, but you needed to be reminded. There's only ever one winner, and it can't always be you. But my goal is to try to make it me this time around. Now, that's not to say I haven't tried. I have tried. I have made many attempts, some more serious than others. My first year in this drought was a year where I did not play to my best. What do I mean by that? Batson. His name is Batson, not Baston. That's one of my big problems in this. I had a year where I thought going into Canadian Nationals I wasn't going to be able to, due to work obligations, not make it to Worlds. I was wrong. And now I felt like so stupid after that. Like I looked at it and said, why did I think that? What is wrong with me? Why would I ever consider that? And as a result, I played a terrible team after making the cut from the sealed qualifiers. With a team that it was Avengers Defenders War was a sealed, and of the 10 figures I got in my 2 packs, I had 8 on my team and 2 of them on the sideline, or 2 of them not anywhere. Now, granted, it was 7 on map with 1 on the sideline, but this is what it all came down to. And so I squeaked out a qualification on that. And once I squeaked out that qualification, the next day I played with an X-Force theme team with Cable and Deadpool, and it was not a good team. It was a very bad team. And what's more, it was in an era where there was a lot of holy crap stuff. Like Krang, this was the last leg of Krang. This was the last leg of... Anyway, let's just carry on. The next year was the introduction to my first tournament, this would have been last Canadian Nationals, my first tournament with my monster team. My version of something similar to Tyler Spees, but his was just significantly better. He won Worlds with it. There's no question about it. And it was my first tournament with the team, unfortunately. This is what I had to deal with. It's like, all right, well, I playing in a tournament. First time, I went 3-2, and I missed a cut of top 8 by points. You do what you do. And it also involved Emily in the chat. How you doing, Emily? A very close game with Emily where I made a massive mistake by not doing math. And that's a game that with the new note-taking rules, I would have won. Because I would have looked at the score like, nope, I'm not doing something this stupid. I'm so far ahead, I'm just going to back off. Just back up. So, you win some, you lose some. And I lost that. And, you know, I'm in my own head now where I look at it and say, I got to get back to form. I got to get back to where I think I'm good. And this year, one of the big changes I have to make, thanks to Emily in the chat, is I cannot play bystanders as a team because there is a team that people will play that just outright murders it. So I have to accept that there is a matchup for most of my bystander builds that will not win unless I make a massive leap of faith and make a massive change to one of the functionalities of the team. And I just don't think I can, in good conscience, do that. So, that aside, myself and Tom went to Impact Pro Wrestling, had an awesome day at the event, but before going to watch wrestling, we had some beers, and we talked about a team. Tom went to Eternal Games this week. Don't be sorry, Emily. It's a good team. You just happen to take my style of play out of the metagame, which hurts my feelings, Emily. It hurts my feelings. But that aside, me and Tom came up with something together. Tom played it, and I believe he got second in Swiss with the team. Emily, update me if I'm getting this wrong. And that is this. This one, isn't it? Yeah, there we go. All right. It's this team. Now, you'll notice there's only 250 points at the team. Don't worry about it. This is the framework of the team. It is Black Adam at 100 points. It is 2 40-point Billy Bastons. Yes, we will have Shazams on the sidelines for them. A 20-point Billy Batson, and a Cyclone. Now, the reason for Cyclone, we wanted to maintain theme. We also wanted to maintain named theme when we came up with this idea. And it's a Cyclone is our named theme source of telekinesis. Oddly enough, Black Adam is Justice Society, guys. Who knew, right? So then we now have a 100-point Quintessence Mystics Justice Society guy with two guys here in the Billy Batsons who are... we'll talk about how they function and what they do and why they're awesome in a minute. And then the Cyclone, okay? So Cyclone is capable of TKing and is traded, so it's really, it's always there to a certain degree. And then she's got the TK Force Blast, right? So she's got one or the other because it's a trait. You can't outwit the trait itself. You'd have to outwit the powers that the trait allow in this case. So if they outwit telekinesis, she still has access to Force Blast, which is great. She's got running shot and is capable of taking a shot if she needs. Early game is really where Cyclone shines, but she is capable of helping out in the later parts of the game. That said, the idea of this is it's a theme team, and it's already a 5-figure theme team, which means we have 5 theme props. We get lots to work with on sideline, and I don't know what Tom did, and I'm going to get Tom's details when I get a chance. The framework is ultimately the case. Jean Grey is an ID card that comes with this. And the idea, of course, I think I've actually talked about this in previous episodes. I'm going to go over this quickly. Point is, somebody's tried it, and it worked. Thanks, Tom. And this is kind of the thing that I've got to address. Now, Billy Batson, as a figure, is capable of surviving the vulture problem or capable of stifling how effective the vulture is. And it goes like this. He's got a stop click, which means Vulture has to use both attacks on a flurry with the Doc Ock arms in order to kill him. So if you can find a way to get the Doc Ock arms away from him, which his team does have available to it, you've now completely slowed down the Vulture to the point where he's actually not as big a threat for the team. Vulture's still good. He's just not going to one-shot a bunch of Billy Batsons if you can get the Doc Ock arms away. If he does get the Doc Ock arms somehow, he's got a stop click, which means he's got to use the second attack. But the second attack is going to get through a shape change. So all of this kind of works in conjunction. So Billy Batsons, if you can actually swarm them up, are hard for Vultures to get through as a swarm team. Plus, they also have all that perplexing that they do, right? Cyclone is probably the weakest to Vulture on this team. And Black Adam is capable of surviving a little bit of it, but you really just don't want him to get hit. Ultimately, as far as the Vulture system, he's able to do it. Now, you do have to play this team a little bit more intelligent, because this doesn't flat out beat a Unimind. You have to work to kill things like a Unimind. You have to work to kill a lot of things. But the tools that you have come in the form of 4 Perplexes, Black Adam, and all 3 Billy Batsons on first click. The Black Adam has it for 3 clicks. Billy Batson has it for just his first, but then he's bringing out a Shazam later. What's more important is this other rules change that kind of cropped up, where Shazam will count as a 200-point dial. Not that it really matters. I don't think anything in the ID card realm is really anything you want to be pushing that high. Maybe a Storm, maybe a Magneto. We'll look to that to see what happens in the rules in the future on that one. Because I don't know if you're allowed to stock a 200-point character that you can't start the game. I don't know how IDs and sidelines work anymore. I'm going to have to ask questions of people who know the rules better than me. But ultimately, you'll get at minimum 5 ID cards. If you had a PIM tank, because I'm sure Tom's version of it had a PIM tank, we actually get access to 6 ID cards. And that you can really work around that. We can also put our own equipment on there. Mandarin rings come to mind. 5 points. It's awesome. I believe they're indestructible as well, which goes a long way. And yeah, so this is like one idea we're coming across, and I feel like I'm repeating myself. Whoops. Sorry, guys. I feel like I'm repeating myself, so I'm going to just step away from it for a second. But this is the kind of idea I have to push towards and push away from my bystanders. Subsequently, though, if I want to push towards my bystanders, I still have to accept the fact that a Vulture on his own, without Flurry, is going to wipe out all of my bystanders and my Colossal Retaliators, which a lot of my bystander teams rely on. Oops. I don't even know what to say about that, to be brutally honest. So, Vulture is like the singular focus. If you can't beat the Vulture or can't survive the Vulture, it's not worth playing, is kind of the mindset. Subsequently, you do have to deal with things like the Unimind. The Unimind being its one-armed, he had a Joker's Wild Green Lantern tank. Okay, yeah. So he had the version that was still legal right now. That other version is the one we talked over beers, because me and him were talking future sighted, because he wants to consider this one for U.S. Nationals. That's okay, cool. Anyway, all things being what they are, I'm still also holding out to see what we get, what we acquire, what we need to acquire for Avengers, Black Panther, Illuminati. Black Panther and the Illuminati? I don't know. Because whatever comes of that could also change my mind on what I want to do as far as another focus or another idea that I might run. But the thought process has to be Vulture, Unimind, other. And like other can be a lot of things. I don't think it's necessarily the Avengers team anymore, though I might be wrong on that one. There might be an Avengers team lurking in the wind that I didn't quite plan for. I just want to be ready for all of it. And that's going to be the mindset I go into it this year. And to kind of explain why I'm going with this particular mindset, when I did my best at Canadian Nationals that 1 year, I also stepped out of my comfort zone hardcore, because I was still in a mindset and a frequency of using a lot of characters. And this particular team that I had 3 on board with a shifting focus Superman. So there's a lot of sideline action. There was a Hellcat ID, which got screwed on the way in. Anyway, my brain says it is time to kind of look at that team and say, why did I do well with this team, but I can't do well with what I'm comfortable with? And I think the consistency is, one, I am too stubborn to not just play what could possibly be good. Two, I am trying too hard to go wide versus go hard. Magic terminology. Go wide is have everything on the board and just do everything all at once, and they can only deal with so much. Whereas go hard is hit them as hard as you can with, like, I can hit you with 1,000 little boxing gloves, or I can hit you with a boxing glove filled with lead chains. And that's kind of, I have to meter out how I can best approach with one of those ideas. So I'm in a place where I gotta kind of adjust me and change how I'm going to focus my teams in this case. Now, another thing is worth pointing out is it's pre-release season right now. And Black Panther is kind of making the rounds. We're seeing some cool stuff. I'm going to a pre-release myself Saturday, so 2 days from now. And I'm super excited to see what we pull from that. I don't get my hopes up on a pre-release of pulling something big. If I do, I cheer. I do a little skip and a Irish dance and kick my heels. Most of the time, I keep the stuff. I don't foresee myself doing the whole big sell thing. But I do understand that people are going to sell because this is the weakest amount of Black Panther we're going to see while it is released. So, like, this week alone, there's going to be almost none of it. There is some, but in comparison to what we're going to see in 2 weeks, this is going to be light. And so when we come to, I believe it's June 5th is supposed to be released. And when we get to that, it's all going to settle itself down. But the Thanos is going to be a hot ticket item. People are looking at him for competitive teams, and I understand why. And so expect that to stay high and maybe kind of focus on getting some packs instead of trying to get it. Or, I don't know, I mean, if you're going to make that investment's going to be an investment you have to make. It's an ultra chase. There's like one for every X number of cases. It's gonna be $200 to $400 for a little bit. And that's a made up price. I mean, I think it's already selling for like $285 to almost $300. Like, people have them on the market for $400 plus. I don't know if people are getting that, but it's gonna move. It's gonna move quick. People want it. Chases on this one are gonna sell high, mostly because I believe chases come with the objects, and there's, from what I'm hearing, the word on the street is that the gems come with the higher rarity dudes that can use them. So, for instance, I believe it's like whoever's the highest rarity that has a speed gem effect comes with it, the soul gem, all that kind of stuff. That's what I'm hearing. Don't take that as gospel. I don't even have my own. We don't have our review brick, unfortunately. So I'm going off of what the word on the street is right now. I'm just like you guys right now. I don't know anything. Yeah, some are going for some people are asking $500, and I believe this comes with that ego gem. So, you know, the ego gem itself is pretty good. Brace yourselves if you want that ultra chase, guys. Just brace yourself. It's gonna hurt. So grab something for biting if you're gonna do it. I kind of babbled on a bit. I don't like. I've now said the for the second time this Black Adam idea. Actually, I think originally my idea was more focused on the 200-point Black Adam. I'm still leaning in that direction, mostly because of how much of a beating he can take, which he also dishes out for you giving me the beating. If that makes any matter of sense, it does and it doesn't to some. We'll see. Overall, I'm happy to be back on focusing on what I want to do and what I want to make. Amber and I are going to start working on a practice schedule for ourselves. And we're going to start talking to others if they want to travel over here and do that. 500 Canadian is like $2 US. Okay, $2 if it's 500 Canadian. Come on now, eh? Our money's made up. It's Monopoly money, right? It's all the colors. So, I'm still in that bang my head on the wall phase. And I mean, this is the weird time of year for me, and I just kind of start the show around this time to share the trials and tribulations of the Jason. And I don't have a lot of ideas right now because a lot of my own hubris kind of defeats me in the build process. I'll start building with 2 or 3 figures. I'm like, oh no, this happens, then this happens, then this happens, with just like the standard teams are on the map. And like if 2 of those teams just absolutely outright murder it, I just step aside and say, nope, not gonna do it. That's not gonna happen. So this is the Jason that's not fun to watch build, but I will try to make it as entertaining as I possibly can over the next couple of weeks, months that it takes till Canadian Nationals, and I'll carry on into Worlds like I did last year and kind of go with the flow of things. So, last year where I was mad scientist coming up with ideas, hey, look what I could do with all of these, and somebody's told me about this, I'm going to do this, and this with it, and just, spill my brain everywhere. This time around, I'm a little bit more focused, and I might end up actually spending a little bit more time throughout the weeks kind of addressing the teams that I'm afraid of, the teams that I have to focus on building around, or just kind of build my team, and when we come up with it, just say, okay, so here's my problems with the teams, which is kind of what I did last year, but it's a different sort of thing. As last year, I did the whole thing. It's like, if I come across it, I come across it, and I lose. I accepted my fate last year so hardcore. Yeah, so that's about it from me. I opened it up to the chat. I didn't see much going on the Facebook, but I do have to double check because my Facebook notifications have been acting a little weird lately. So I'm gonna quickly peek at the face of the book of the face. But if you guys have any questions in the chat, I will happily address them. I should take a peek in at Discord. Why am I not focused on my Discord? This is bad. This is very bad. Oh, okay, that got in. Okay, that's all right. So nothing there. Sorry, you're watching me look at Discord and look at Facebook posts and stuff for questions because I'm a little worse for topics this week. One of the big things I was going to spend a lot of time on is the idea of pay to win, but Edward Sheldon's Starting Over podcast, he did such a fantastic job on this week's episode, just kind of nailing the topic. So I felt that, if I spent a little bit of time talking about his, as opposed to, attempting to, explain it myself, it would be better for the community. So I'm just going to pull that up, actually. I'm going to pop it in the chat. I'm going to pop the link to it just because it's, it is what it is, right? So there's the link in the chat if you want to watch that episode. He covers the topic well. He's very well spoken too. Kind of covers his own thing. There's a little, there's a touch of condescending tone at times, but that's part of his charm, I think. And enjoy it. It's a good episode. I think you guys should listen to it. If you have any doubts as to whether or not Heroclix is a pay to win, etc. kind of situation, he addresses it in a way that kind of makes you see yes and no. And cites several important sources and comparisons to help kind of see where the game actually is and belongs. All right, that's about it for me. I've babbled enough. I didn't have as much to talk about today as I'd wanted to, so I'm gonna let you guys have a good evening. Going forward, starting next week, we're gonna start coming. I'm gonna start sharing some of my mad science with you guys. And if I immediately scrap a team, I'll explain why. And I'm gonna try to bring up 2 to 3 teams depending on what I physically come up with and what I think is feasible in the coming weeks, and we will focus ourselves and get ourselves on task for that. Been a weird week. It's been a weird week without a meta lab. I feel off. I haven't said a lot of things, but I need my boys to talk to. So hopefully Monday, when we're back on track with that, we're going to talk about our pre-releases. I'm going to get them to spill the beans on Eternal Games in brief detail. Brief detail. 2 words that just don't kind of work on the Meta Lab. Things we don't do on the Meta Lab. Brevity. No, we don't do brevity on that channel, on that show. So, all right, guys. I babbled. Have a good night, and I'll see you guys on the next Into the Mind of Madness. I'll bring teams next time, and we'll have fun.